My presentation was based to the road ahead in the aftermarket, and the key points were talking about the tariffs, the technology coming from the OEMs, and the supply chain crisis that we face as an industry with the toner binder resins suppliers. Well, it's a industry, printing is declining, and I think that the main challenge is technology and how basically companies needs to keep up with technology on a declining market. I think that the industry needs to go back to the basic and focus on how basically we can generate add value for our customers with technology, with quality, and with performance. My main advice is that they need to look for suppliers with a good reputation that has been in the aftermarket for many years, like static control, and we expect basically to serve better the buyers. This expo is probably the only expo in this industry, so it's very important to keep this meeting point for many buyers and customers and try to get together and understand the challenges that we face. And this year we got tariff and we got a trade war going on, and there are many situations. So I'm gonna briefly talk about different subjects. The first one is the tariff challenge and the impact on the aftermarket, because this is not only about the US and China, has an impact globally, and not only on the aftermarket, but also on the OEM. The second is the supply chain crisis, how we see recently toner resins companies exiting the market because of the cost pressure, and how it's impacting basically the toner formulations in this industry. And the third one, we talk about the technology, obviously the OEM lockouts, new technology, and future technology, and we will cover that part as well. Okay, the first one, tariff challenge. So why is impacting globally? I mean, you have to think that basically for many companies, when President Trump announced basically tariffs from February, initially putting a 30% tariff based on different factors to China, start to impact basically the market, that it's a more competitive market. And then in April, he took the decision, start the trade war to go to 150%, but then the negotiation start, right? That created a major impact on many factories in China, because the major market, that is the US, basically was closed, right? Many companies operating in the US have to face this challenge and have a supply chain disruption that create cost increases, and then basically changes of suppliers, and also competitive pressure. So on the sourcer challenge, we see some of the traditional suppliers start to face alternatives and change manufacturing location, and this is not only for the aftermarket, but in general for the printing industry and for many other industries. Inventory management. Obviously, nobody could predict basically what's happening, but last year, based when President Trump was a candidate, we see that it was evidently coming something to affect the trade globally, and some companies could be prepared more on the inventory, but it's also bringing more inventory would tie the cash and have more restriction on the cash flow, right? And also many quality concerns, because when you start to change suppliers, when you start to select different vendors, that's going to be an impact. But it's not only basically going into the US, as I mentioned, also China was buying products from the US, raw materials, and that has also an impact on the quality side because they have to look for alternatives. So in consideration, geographical regions, it's important basically, and right now we could face a new after settle down during the summer months. We see recently a new announcement of 100%. So that means that if that becomes effective, like toner cartridges will pay around 137%, printer parts another one 155%. So evidently there is no absorption on cost that, and it will go into the consumer in the US. So that's why basically it is important to have the flexibility on your supply chain and financial stability also to increase volumes and diversify. That's the most important part. As I mentioned, price pressure, competitive dynamics, and also customer impact. We see also during the first half, most of the OEMs start to increase prices and do the same diversification of the plants and has an impact on other geographies as well. So the toner binder resin shortage created for those that they don't know what is toner binding, it says the process of combining toner components into uniform particles and typically using a resin. So mainly the resins are coming from different parts of the world, but the one of the most important ones was coming from Japan, and I have here basically the timeline from September of last year when Mitsui Chemical announced exiting the toner binder resin, and then we see an immediate impact on toner manufacturers trying to look for alternatives, and that has a major impact on the quality because it's not easy to replace the resins that easily, and there are not many suppliers. So nowadays we saw Mitsubishi Chemical announcing basically the same situation. So the lack of supplier will have an effect also on the not only on the quality but on the prices. Prices needs to come up because there are going to be less suppliers on this type of important raw material for toner. As I mentioned, the resins is a very critical part of the toner binder process, and the key is to have the know-how on how to get alternatives and to look in different geographies about it. Unfortunately, there are not many companies on this, and every company and every toner manufacturer is trying to rush formulations and change that, which will have an impact on the performance and the consistency of the products. Again, reformulation of toners or companies discontinuing more toners and have less product offering in the market. This reformulation require a lot of testing, a lot of R&D, and this will take months in order to recover the quality on the most important component in the aftermarket. And again, market demand will don't pass, and the reformulation, it would take time. And the cost implications that I just mentioned. So the third subject is about the technology. We have seen technology from the OEMs and the challenge for the aftermarket. And initially, we talk about basically the pressure that the OEMs has If you see the financial statement from all the OEMs, it's a declining industry, declining profits, and shareholders of most of the OEMs are not happy with this situation, and they are fighting the aftermarket because it's a major dent in their into their profits. So we talk about the weapons that they use. The first one is changing toners, using low temperature fusing toners, firmware upgrades or firmware updates, dynamic security, uh, obviously cartridge design and enforcement on IP. Nowadays, we were seeing the previous presentation about Amazon. Now, what you could see in the market is that instead of big lawsuits that cost a lot of money, OEMs are taking the step to take products out of Amazon, working with Amazon, and those what they call the Amazon takedowns. It's another challenge for the aftermarket for the companies, and obviously the subscription plans that have not been very successful, but continue in certain markets with HP Plus and another type of subscription from the OEMs. Again, the OEM are trying to design different printers with a very low temperature, and toner needs to perform basically under those conditions, and that's a big challenge, not only on the transfer efficiency, but on the fusing side. We see some defects if you work with low quality, and that's going to be continue the trend in the future. Firmware updates or firmware challenges. We said that basically one firmware update can change only one number in 60 million digit sequence. So the technology is more complicated. The new chips require more technology, and even the aftermarket, we see that every 3 months, for example, HP is releasing new firmwares affecting the aftermarket. So the companies that they don't understand this type of firmwares will suffer more and have more issues with their consumers. Also, automatic updates we see not only on HP but on other major OEMs, and that has a direct impact to the user experience, and obviously has a lost revenue, lost sales for companies that are not having the technology. And the OEMs will continue to push more updates and stay ahead of the aftermarket, and the aftermarket needs to be prepared for that. Just mentioned about the dynamic security. It's a feature that comes from the default in HP, and basically it was developed to block the use of fully functional cartridges in the aftermarket that we use the non-chips, not HP chips. Now, end users, they don't understand well, so you have to educate them and make sure that they understand how to disable this dynamic security and educate more about the risk of having these features installed in their printers. Static control, as Gustavo and David mentioned, has been a pioneer in this industry for many years, and we continue to work on this challenge and try to educate our customers and the customers of our customers to make sure to develop different strategies and technologies for their success. Static control has been working on the supply chain for many years, and recently to serve better the markets and maintain the quality and has the consistent performance of our products that we have done during the past 37 years. Also, we have managing the chip technology and every type of component technology. The know-how that we have can allow basically uh, the remanufacturers and the manufacturers that use our products to make sure that they have a seamlessly user experience. And again, 37 years of expertise in the components, translating to cartridges and translating to an best user and user experience. So we are located in 3 geographies. As everybody knows, our headquarters is in Sanford, North Carolina, in the US. We have operations in Europe and also in Asia and China.